Assalamualaikum viewers, hope all of you are fine by the grace of Almighty Allah. Today I am going to explain a very important topic from the perspective of examination of both the class 11th as well as class 12th. This topic may need 2 or 3 sessions. It is comparatively a vaster, a bigger topic, and the topic is figures of speech. Figure of speech is also known as a rhetorical figure or literary devices. Figure of speech means creative use of language. Creative use of language. It means deviation from the normal rules and regulations of the language. It means deviation from the day-to-day ordinary conversations. Like money, like status, like property, language is used by some people as a means of exercising, consolidating and controlling power. Language is a sort of weapon for many people. They use language as a source of power, as a means of controlling power, as a means of controlling others. Their languages are more persuasive. Their languages are more enforcing. They're able to control a conversation. They're able to initiate and control a conversation. The powerful leaders of the world are basically nothing. They are great orators. They have a good command over languages. Maybe they are having some other qualities, other good qualities as well, but mostly all the powerful leaders of the world are good orators. They have a command over the figures of speech. Their language is more persuasive. Their language is enforcing. Their language is emotive. Over the course of time, many literary devices or figures of speech or rhetorical figures have been evolved to make the language colorful, to make the language exciting, to make the language creative. Some of these figures of speech I'm going to explain today, and these figures of speech are must for you because you are going to face questions in English paper regarding these figures of speech. The first figure of speech is rhyme. Very simple figure of speech, rhyme. Rhyme means the usage of phonetically similar words. The usage of words which are phonetically similar. The words which have similar sounds, especially the vowel sounds. The usage of phonetically similar sounds, especially at the ends of lines in poetry, is known as rhyme. You are familiar with the famous rhyme, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky." Star R. Star R. These are phonetically similar words used at the end of the lines. High sky. Again phonetically similar words used at the end of the line. Such usage of phonetically similar words, especially at the end of lines in poetry, is known as rhyme. Writers, poets use rhymes in different manners. In this case, if I take star, if I denote star by letter A, that means I have to denote word R by the same letter A, because these are phonetically similar. High is different. High is phonetically different from both star and R. So I will denote this word by letter B. I have to denote the word sikai by letter B also, because high and sikai are phonetically similar. We say the rhyme scheme of this poem is A, B, B. A, B, B. A, B, B, B means the first two lines end up with the same sound. The following two lines end up with a different sound, but the two lines have got the same sound, phonetically same sound at the end. Poets use rhymes in different schemes. This is known as rhyme scheme. Here we have rhyme scheme A, B, B. Some poems have a rhyme scheme of A, B, B. That means first line corresponds to the third line and second line to the fourth line. We may have a rhyme scheme A, B, B, A. If you go through the poem, The Daffodils, that is a poem in class 11th English textbook. The rhyme scheme of that poem is A, B, C, C. That means the first line and the third line are phonetically similar. They have the same endings, phonetically same endings. The second line and the fourth line phonetically similar, and the fifth line and sixth line are phonetically similar. This is known as rhyme scheme. In examination, you may be asked to identify the rhyme scheme of a given stanza or the rhyme scheme of the poems which you have studied, which are in your syllabus, in your textbook. I hope you have understood this figure of speech. The other figure of speech is rhythm. Although it is not a part of your syllabus, but I feel you must know something about rhythm. Many people, especially the non-native speakers of English, they feel that rhyme and rhythm are the same, but they are not the same. They are totally different. Rhyme, I explained, means the usage of phonetically similar words, especially at the end of lines in poetry. Rhythm is altogether a different thing. Rhythm means the usage of regular patterns of stressed and unstressed words. I'm repeating, the usage of regular patterns of the stressed and unstressed syllables in poetry. You may not understand this by definition. I'm going to write a line here. I am monarch of all I survey. If I ask you to read this line, if I ask any non-native speaker of English to read this line, is surely going to read this line like, I am monarch of all I survey, like this. But what I want you to do is to divide this line into three parts. Each part consists of three syllables, and I want you to give more stress on the third syllable of each part. One part, by the way, is known as foot. We have divided this line into three feet. What I want you to do is to give more stress to the third syllable of each foot. When you give more stress to the third syllable of each foot, you are going to read this line like this. I am monarch of all I survey. I am monarch of all I survey. This is called rhythm. Regular pattern, the usage of regular pattern is of stressed and unstressed syllables. You see, we have two syllables are unstressed. Third syllable is stressed. Two syllables unstressed, third syllable is stressed. Two syllables unstressed, third syllable is stressed. We have regular arrangement of the stressed and unstressed words. This is known as rhythm. I can explain this by another example, by quoting a famous line by Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? It's a famous poem by Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Is how a non-native English speaker reads this line. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? What I want you to do is to divide this line into 5 parts, each part consisting of 2 syllables. I divide this line into 5 parts. Each part consists of 2 syllables. What I want you to do is to give more stress to the second syllable of each foot. When you give more stress to the second syllable of each foot, you are surely going to read this line like this. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? You may have noticed the free-flowing effect this line has on the listeners. This is known as rhythm. This kind of rhythm, by the way, is known as anapestic trimeter, and the second line is known as iambic pentameter. The first rhythm is known as anapestic trimeter. It is known as anapestic trimeter. Anapestic trimeter means a line consisting of 1 foot is known as monometer. A line consisting of 2 feet is known as diameter. 3 feet, trimeter. 4 feet, tetrameter. 5 feet, pentameter. Hexameter, etc. And when we have a foot consisting of 3 syllables, the first 2 are unstressed and the third one is stressed. That is known as anapestic. That's why this kind of rhythm is known as anapestic trimeter, because this line consists of 3 meters, and in each meter the third syllable is stressed. And the second line is the example of iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter means this line consists of 5 feet. That's why pentameter. Iambic means when each foot consists of 2 syllables. The first one is unstressed and the second is. Now, what is the effect of rhyme and rhythm in poetry? Rhyme and rhythm sets poetry apart from prose, from the normal day-to-day speech. Rhyme and rhythm distinguishes poetry from prose, and it makes the rhyme and rhythm makes the poetry more persuasive. It imparts a musical effect to the poetry and makes it more appealing. Metaphor is another figure of speech that I want to explain for you people, because it is part of your syllabus for both 11th as well as 12th classes. Metaphor. Metaphor means when we refer to one thing by another thing. To put it in simple words, when we refer to one thing, when we refer to one person by another person, one thing by another thing, one person by another thing, one thing by another person, is known as metaphor. Metaphors are used to highlight similarities or the hidden similarities between 2 objects or between 2 people or between an object and a person. I'll quote a famous line here. All the world is a stage. All the world is a stage is a famous line by Shakespeare. All the world is a stage. In this line, Shakespeare has referred to world by another word, that is stage. So Shakespeare has compared world to stage in this line without using words as or like. This is an example of metaphor. If you fail to understand, I'll give you a simple example. Javed is the Ronaldo of our team. Javed is the Ronaldo of our team. What I have done in this sentence, I am referring to Javed by Ronaldo. Ronaldo, you know, is a famous football player. I am referring to Javed to Ronaldo. What I mean to say is that Javed is a very good football player. So I am comparing Javed to Ronaldo. I say Javed is the Ronaldo of our team. I am referring to one person by quoting another person. This is again example of metaphor. With metaphor, we have another device, that is personification. Every personification is a metaphor, but all the metaphors are not necessarily personifications. What do we mean by personification? Personification means when we give human qualities to non-humans. When we attribute human qualities to non-humans, maybe non-living things, animals, or other things, or some abstract concepts, that is known as personification. You can understand this figure of speech by this line. The waves beside them danced. It's a line from one of the poems of 11th class English book, that is the Daffodils. The waves beside them danced. Them here refers to the flowers, daffodils. The waves beside the daffodils danced. Here in this line, waves have been described as dancing. Well, dancing is something that we usually associate with human beings. It's a feature, quality of human beings. But here, waves have been attributed with this feature of human beings. So, it's an example of personification. I can give you another example. And a storm came, and he was cruel. And a storm came. He was cruel and strong. And a storm came, he was cruel and strong. And a storm came, and he was cruel. What was cruel? The storm was cruel. The storm was cruel. Cruel is also a human property. It is an attribute of human beings. Some people by nature are cruel. Here, this human quality has been attributed to the storm. So it is also an example of personification. I have told you, as every personification is a metaphor, but all the metaphors may not be examples of personification. A host of golden daffodils is another line from the poem Daffodils. A host of golden daffodils. A host of golden daffodils. Being host is also an attribute of human beings. Here, this feature has been attributed to the flowers, to the daffodils, a host of golden daffodils. So it's an example of personification. Another figure of speech is simile. It is comparatively easier concept. Simile simply means when we compare two things using words like and as. Often compare two things in our day-to-day conversation. Why we compare things? We compare things to clarify the meaning, to make the meaning clear, to explain ourselves. The comparison between two objects, between two things, between two persons by using words as or like is known as simile. While quoting the examples of metaphor, I quoted an example. Javed is the Ronaldo of our team. It's a metaphor. I can write the same sentence like this. Javed plays like Ronaldo. Or I can say Javed plays as good as Ronaldo. Javed plays like Ronaldo. What I have done? I compared Javed to Ronaldo. I mean to say, Ronaldo, is a very good player, very good football player. I mean to say that Javed also plays very good. I am comparing Javed to Ronaldo. It's an example of simile. In all your poems, in 11th class, in 11th English textbook, in 12th English textbook, you have at least as many as 10 poems, and in almost all the poems you will surely be seeing this technique. I wandered lonely as a cloud, the first line of the poem Daffodils. I wandered lonely as a cloud. In this line, the poet compares himself to the clouds, to the free wandering clouds. So it's an example of simile. Continuous as the stars that shine. It's also a line from the same poem, continuous as the stars that shine. The flowers were continuous as the stars that shine. In this line, the flowers have been compared to the stars. Again, an example of simile. I see my teeth like snakes bear fangs. It's a line from Once Upon a Time, a poem in the class 12th textbook. I see my teeth like snakes bear fangs. In this line, the poet compares his teeth to the teeth of a snake. Hope you have understood.